The following is a Castwave Studios production.
Cause you want the tasty treat. It's two fat guys eat.
Welcome back to another episode of Two Fat Guys Eat. Take 3.
I have a very big problem with GarageBand.
Yeah.
So So the first one, I guess we fucked up because I forgot. And then the second time, my wonderful Mac decided to connect with my iPhone and use my iPhone as a microphone. I was like, why?
That's really weird. Welcome to the show. Just in case you're not able to keep track, I'm Brian, that's Colin, and that's Sean, and those two are the fat guys, and I'm the one in training. Welcome to Two Fat Guys Eat. We're going to be talking today about...
McNostalgia.
Yes.
Because if you've been listening to our last few episodes, we've been talking about what we think is the best item at the menu, past and present, from McDonald's. And while having that conversation the last 2 episodes, we wanted to go off on tangents talking about favorite Happy Meal toys, favorite movie campaigns, favorite tie-in movie campaigns. So we were just like, and we were just like, eventually it's just like, we can't have 2 or 3 hour-long episodes on all these tangents.
Not anymore.
So we were just like...
Not again.
Like, yeah, what is this, BGN? So we decided, okay, we'll save all that good, juicy stuff for this episode where we discuss. So, talking about McDonald's, what's everyone's first memory from McDonald's?
Brian, you can start.
Yeah, Brian, you start.
Sure. So I remember being a wee child. And
Wee baby.
a wee
She
baby.
was a wee baby.
A wee baby. And so like my dad would come home for like lunch or something, or like because my mom was always watching me like in those early days. And my dad worked, he was in the Army, and so he would come back on base. I don't think where he was living there was a McDonald's on post. And typically Burger Kings are on post, but he would always go off post to get McDonald's because he was always a McDonald's guy. Mm-hmm. And so I remember like my earliest memory of having McDonald's anything was like my mom or my dad would feed me French fries. You know what I mean? And not like...
And like a high chair?
Well, yeah, but like not even like, not even like, oh, here, cram your face with fries, but like, hey, let's have him try a fry and see if he likes it.
Took a supersized fry, like, Rah!
It's not like they just went, we're not hungry no more.
Just take a handful of fries and just jam it in his mouth instead of a pacifier.
Do you remember the gentleman meme from Team Fortress 2 back in the day? It's like gentleman, and it was like all the cigarette. It's like that with the fries. No, it wasn't like that at all. But like, yeah, like my parents would like be like, "Hey, you want to try a fry?" And there's like photo evidence and video evidence of it, and because my dad had a camera and he filmed everything, and so yeah, like
never miss a moment. Blockbuster Video.
Yes. But yeah, my earliest, which is hilarious if, I'm not going to spoil anything, if you go and listen to our last episode, my first memory being fries. I'm not going to spoil anything. But, yeah, that was, and then getting older and being taken out for your first, like, Happy Meal and stuff like that.
Cool.
Anyways.
No, I get it. My first was always... It's one of 2 things.
They're trying to make me crack up, by the way, just in case you can't see. Like, Sean's, like, making faces, and I'm like...
Well, he's also annoyed, with this bag rustling. Right. Yeah.
Visual cue and an audio podcast.
Colin.
So, I have my 2 clearest memories of McDonald's from my youth are... when I was in middle school, my father... was working relatively close by for where we lived at the time. And so he started taking us to school a lot more. Like, we'd take the bus before, but then there'd always be mornings where he would just take us in just because, he was around a lot more because he didn't have to go in as early.
Sure.
Which is great because anytime we drove with him in the morning, he'd always stop to get breakfast for himself. And, by proxy, since Ian and I were in the car, we'd get breakfast as well. And I'd always get the same thing. I'd get a biscuit with cheese, a hash brown, and an orange juice. And, because that was delicious.
Orange juice.
Yeah. Orange juice.
So the cheese in between the biscuit.
Yes.
No meat.
No eggs.
No.
You're a special boy.
Yeah.
Um,
See, the thing is that I was not blessed with the cooking gene in my family.
Oh, that's right.
I've burnt macaroni and cheese.
well, that's why you go out and hire somebody named Gene so that they can cook for you. Sorry. That joke was dead on arrival.
Moderate Jack over here hiring people to cook.
Moderate Jack over here.
Moderate Jack hiring people to cook over here.
Anyway.
Hey, I seem to recall helping you make a pretty damn good burger earlier.
You did.
There you go.
Yeah.
But my
Anyways.
second memory is always my sister bribing me and my younger brother with McDonald's to help take artsy photos.
Yeah.
Because she was a photographer, she'd take her stuff to, like, local competitions and everything. Yeah, right. So me and my brother were not unwilling because we were always like, oh, free meal? Hell yeah, we'll do some photos. So she'd be like, go run in this park, or go run in this field, or go run in this cemetery. No, it's totally fine. They don't know you're there. I'm like,
They've been dead for years. It's fine.
it's like, all right, but I better get a 6-piece for this bullshit.
Run around harder. I'll make it a burger too. All right, let's go.
Yeah, right. We were so easy to bribe in those days.
Yeah.
Now we're talking about, oh, am I gonna get a credit for this? Am I gonna get benefits? Am I gonna get do we have to call the union in to take care of this?
I want an executive producer credit on this
Yes.
Right.
because my money, quite frankly, went to football. Anyways,
Yeah. No, but those are my two biggest memories, at least from childhood, about McDonald's. What about you, Sean?
Mine, not so much food, but it's more of just the ball pit is just it must have been like 5 years old or something, and like earliest memory is just sitting in the ball pit, just looking at the different colors of balls. They're like, there's a blue one, there's a yellow one, there's so many. I was like, I was like really into like looking at shapes at that point. But
object permanence was big for you at that point.
What?
I said object permanence was big for you at that point. Then.
Huge. Yeah, maybe I was like 2 or 3. I don't know. It was such a long time ago. But
it was taken around that. It was around that time that photo of you got taken, where we labeled it. I can't believe I ate the whole thing.
probably around that time. Yeah.
With your
and
giant Irish potato bed.
In I think my earliest memory of McDonald's food was biting into the old school type of chicken nuggets. I don't know what they did to them nowadays, but they're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
But they used to make them, like, they used to be a little tiny bit saltier. Like, they actually salt the top I don't know what they did, or they used a different kind of oil, but it doesn't taste the same as it did back then.
Well, I mean,
also my taste buds changed since I was a kid.
Sure,
but
we covered this on our earlier
one of the previous episodes.
Listen to the past podcast to get more of that.
What I think that might actually be is Colin brought it up last episode about the fries and how they used to cook the fries in beef tallow, right?
Yep.
No, yeah, they put a little bit of beef tallow in there.
So I think like maybe it was the same kind of oil for the chicken.
Maybe I was craving the beef tallow. I think that's what it probably was.
Because that
was really where it put me back. Like I really loved like that like grabbing like a chicken nugget and just eating it just plain, because if I had dipped it in anything, it would be ketchup.
Now, you brought up something on the Lost recording about because I thought it was a really cool thing and I just wanted to bring it back up, but I didn't want it to come up unnaturally in the conversation. But it was something I wanted to still bring back up because I thought it was an interesting point. How you said something about traveling and having memories of that. Can you talk about that too?
Oh yeah. During our second try of this podcast, I talked about. Oh yeah. So with McDonald's, we didn't really eat it as a family too often. When we did, it was on road trips.
Sure.
So anytime that we traveled up to Maine to go visit our grandma on when she lived at the beach house up in Jonesport, we would get McDonald's on the way there.
Awesome.
And they would have like the McLobster and stuff like that. But yeah, that's really where anytime I have like McDonald's, like it takes me back to traveling. Yeah. Especially when I eat a McDouble. I don't know what it is.
Oh yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And the reason I brought this up again was because I have very similar memories because I would travel cross country with like my mom and dad and my sister. Right. Especially like during the holidays, and we would get up like stupid early because we'd be traveling for like 2-3 days in the car, and we'd get up like 4 or 5 in the morning, and it would be like stupid cold, and we'd be freezing our butts off. Dad's heating up, the car trying to get it warm for everybody, and one of the first things we would do is like hit up like. Sometimes it was a Hardee's if like there was one around because he was a Hardee's guy and I like Hardee's too. But typically, if that wasn't a thing, then we would go to McDonald's, and we would always get like breakfast in the morning. Mm-hmm. And just that cold feel plus that McDonald's breakfast smell, just like in the car, that feel and that smell commingling, like it left an imprint on my brain. Where like if I were to feel that cold and smell it again, like I immediately go back to that car. It's like I'm on the road, I'm traveling, and it just brings up a good memory.
Okay, so while you guys were talking about travel, something else popped in my head. When I was a kid, I used to live in Niagara Falls, New York, right? Mm-hmm. And the fast food options up there were a little bit different than, say, here or where you guys grew up. Like there, it was like Ted's Hot Dogs or Mighty Taco, right?
Oh, Mighty Taco.
I mean, we got Burger King and other stuff as well, but they weren't as, say, big there. So, but one of the things they did have in one of the smaller towns in the area was a McDonald's. But it wasn't like the old 80s architecture or like the newer like 90s, 2000s, or what we've got now.
The depressed adult working a corporate job style of McDonald's building.
No, but it's interesting because I actually was like, I wonder if there's still a McDonald's there. It's not. They apparently closed the McDonald's in this building in 2004, but this is the building the McDonald's used to be in. It's called the Frontier House, and I was like, oh shit. What? Yeah, that was the building. That used to be the McDonald's.
What? I mean, is it haunted by like the ghosts of Victorian children who were like cast into like a psychiatric ward or something? Like it looks like.
Oh fuck! It's so good.
Is that my French fry floating? What's going on?
So in the early 1800s, it was the finest hotel in America west of Albany, apparently, and it had been the home of like prominent businessmen in the area. But it served as a hotel, private home, a fine dining restaurant, museum, and a fast food establishment, McDonald's.
Wow.
But that building's still around, so, I mean, it does not have McDonald's anymore, but I can point to that and I'd be like, I used to go to that McDonald's.
I will still call it the McMansion.
What? McMansion. Yes, it is a literal McMansion.
Yes!
Yes.
Oh my god, that's awesome.
I love it.
What do you think they're going to use it for now?
It's on the national...
Prostitutes, probably.
Well, it's on the National Historical Register, so now I think it's just an actual museum. But it's fine.
I got you.
But
the fries still haven't they still have.
You'll probably
they still haven't rotted.
Yeah, you'll probably find a fossilized French fry.
There's still cups from like the Lost World Jurassic Park somewhere in the attic.
Jeff Goldblum's derpy fucking face on one.
Vince Vaughn because it's a sequel. Ugh. Anyways.
It's the Lost World.
Oh, that's right. He was in that movie.
He was.
Oh, no.
But we'll get to that here in a little bit.
Oh, yeah. We will. For the tie-ins. But what's next on your query?
What's next on your... Because this was really your episode.
Yeah, Brian. You're spearheading this. Lead us into
lead us in conversation.
So we talked about early memories. I think at that point, because we were all children of like the early 90s, late 80s, so we got to experience some really cool stuff. And one of those was that, in my opinion anyways, we had arguably the coolest Happy Meal toys. Now, a little bit of history. I believe the first Happy Meal toy came out in 1979, and it had to do with Star Trek the Motion Picture.
It was also the first movie tie-in, wasn't it?
It was the first movie tie-in, yes, which we'll get into later. But the very first...
Was it a V'ger?
It was a V'ger, I think. I think you get like a Starship Enterprise or whatever. Now, I wanted to go around and just see what everybody's favorite. I asked for a top 5 for you, but if you don't have a top 5, that's cool. Just maybe list what were your favorite Happy Meal toys and why. And I think we can start with Sean.
I have a funny story about a Happy Meal toy.
I love it.
I don't know if it's my... Well, it has to be my favorite now. Now I'm thinking about the story. Okay. So, back when I must have been about 8, 9, or 10, around there. I was a very thin, very blonde boy. Like, blonde, like, like, very blonde.
We've seen the Star Trek VHS. We know.
We're you and I are both toe babies.
I was a little bit older than that. And we were I was sitting at home, and they were like, my sister was in high school, and she came back. She's like, oh, they're looking for small kids to do a Way Off Broadway play. It's a paying gig. You go ahead and try out for it. So apparently I auditioned for it, got it, and I think we were in rehearsal once, and I'm sitting here. My mom brings me like Animaniacs Happy Meal from McDonald's. That tie-in. This was a rocket. Like it was Animaniacs, and there was a rocket, and the rocket was on an extender. But since the extender was like this thick, kind of thin, like circular plastic, that's kind of it's ribbed. You see where I'm going with this? I kept them like flopping around, and I was very, it's very innocent. I wasn't even trying to flop it around. And then all the other actors were laughing their ass off because I kept them going like this, because I was trying to whip it around like that, like it just.
For those of you who can't see what Sean's doing, he's waving it around like he's got an imaginary dick in his hand.
Yeah, that was the joke.
Yes.
Yeah, and he started laughing. I never understood it until my dad had to explain to him, like, ew. But I continue just because of that story. That continues to be my favorite toy.
Nothing like a visual reference in an audio podcast.
Fantastic.
Oh yes. Oh,
like
sweet,
old times.
Sweet nostalgia.
Yeah. Okay. So what others did you like?
I think the Hot Wheels were always good for me.
I was never a big fan when they did the Barbie Hot Wheels stuff, but that's just me. It always felt like a cop out. It always felt like they were just like, oh, sorry, we don't have a tie-in. Bust out the Barbie and Hot Wheels, No, it was like their fallback. It always felt like, but I didn't mind.
I liked them because they're like old standby. I kind of miss them actually.
Sure, it's just a little bit of a bummer. It's like,
what's Hot Wheels? It's pretty cool. Like especially if you have like a track at home.
Well, sure.
Like, come on now.
Get a free car.
Yeah, you get a free car. So there's that one. They did a tie. I'm trying to remember. They did a tie-in with another Saturday morning cartoon. I think it. I'm not sure if Street Shark. I think they did a tie-in with Street Sharks.
I believe they did. Yes.
Was that McDonald's or was that Burger King?
That was McDonald's.
Okay.
Yeah. So Street Shark. Yeah, that was my other favorite.
Yeah.
Because like they had the jaws and you can.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah,
that's dope.
I remember that shit.
Awesome.
Colin, do you have any favorites?
Oh, I had so many favorites. Okay, I'm trying to remember. They had this line of like Transformer-esque toys.
Yes.
It was like French fries and Big Mac.
Oh, those
and
shits!
I had
I love
my
those.
favorite was the hotcakes that transformed into a pterodactyl.
I still have one of those.
Fucking.
My favorite was the burger.
Yeah, turned into like a stegosaurus.
The little dinosaur dude, the teal. Like the teal colored.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Yep.
I totally forgot about it.
Here's the problem with those though. Like it always hurt to like pull them out, and like I would always break my fingernails on those.
Yeah.
Because it hurts. It was.
You had to force it open.
Yeah. But the pterodactyl was fucking dope.
Yeah, I know, right?
Fire.
And then
because you just had to flip it out, flip the head over, you're good.
And then I actually have some of the first ones which is weird because I don't think I was alive when those came out, but like somehow I wound up with some of the ones where like they actually looked like Transformers kind of sort of, not like the dinosaurs, but like the robot ones.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
I don't know how I wound up with those, but I wound up with some of those.
So that definitely. The fucking Batman Returns line.
Yes.
Which is weird because it was tied into the Batman Returns movie tie-in campaign that they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
But now looking at those toys, I'm like, these are just fucking straight pulled from Batman the Animated Series.
No, I could have sworn that they did a different line.
No, it was more like Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, the toys were just made like Batman for the... Because, like, the Penguin... Maybe the Penguin was more modeled after Danny DeVito, but Joker was in it, and it was fucking Mark Hamill Joker.
I don't remember.
I remember it. I remember that.
I know the Penguin. He had like an umbrella,
yeah, the umbrella on the front. Yeah,
on the front, and
right.
then Catwoman had the tail.
Yeah,
and then the Batmobile. I loved the Batmobile because you pressed a button and then it did that thing in the movie where it turned into the missile thing that went through the like 2 buildings.
Yeah,
but
no, exactly. But for some reason, the character designs were based off of the fucking animated series. Which
I didn't really have any Batman figures growing up. I
had those.
The only thing I had was Batman sheets. Batman the Returns.
Hell yeah.
I mean, I had tons of Batman figures, but it's me.
Yeah. Let's see, what else? I know what my favorite is.
What's that?
Back to the Future.
The animated series?
The toys from the Back to the Future animated series.
I still have
Marty on the hoverboard.
Yeah.
There was Doc in the DeLorean. That one was the best because you like drove it around and it had that little spark engine in the background. So it was
fire started.
It doesn't do that. It doesn't do that anymore.
Boo!
Now, also, while we're on the subject, that reminds me. I actually remember getting a Captain Planet toy, but from back in the day. What's his name? The fire dude. And
Wheeler.
I remember like my mom didn't realize that like there was a lever on the back where like it would shoot sparks or whatever, but it was contained in like a thing. And she literally took one look at that and went, nope, and took it away from me and did not let me have it because she was like, I don't want you starting a fire. And I'm like, looking back and I'm like, aren't you walking around with a lit cigarette like all the fucking time? But whatever. Okay, fine, cool.
She didn't want you to start and you get the motion down.
I learned it by watching you. But yeah, unfortunately, my little, because I have it somewhere. I actually found it in a box of like McDonald's toys from when I was back home, and it does not make the spark anymore, unfortunately.
Aw.
So
that was the best part, though.
That was the best part.
Do
you have any other favorites?
Oh God, I'm trying to remember, just because I remember those vividly, because I was like, I would love to find those and just put them on my desk at work.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Well, you know what? Check on eBay because they actually sell for relatively cheap.
I did look at eBay.
Well, probably is like I forgot so many of them.
Yeah.
I like some of those toys were purely disposable.
Yeah. Sure.
Like they lasted a week.
Halloween buckets.
Yes, the Halloween bucket.
Oh, yeah.
That technically counts as a toy because they didn't give you a toy in the actual bucket.
Go back and listen to our Halloween bucket episode, and you can get my thoughts on that. But
I mean, yes, it was dumb that was your toy. I'm just saying, I liked it.
Sure, but like, I still looked in that bucket and was like, where the fuck's my toy? No, you're holding the toy. Bullshit, where the fuck's my toy? That's how I always felt about it.
Use your imagination.
Shut the fuck up. Where's my toy? I can't play with the bucket. I'm Mr. Bucket. Anyways,
sir, this is a Wendy's.
Oh my god.
Sir,
all right. So what about you?
This is a Wendy's. You're 37.
I would still like the meal toy, please. No. Okay, I've got a bunch of favorites. I'll try and like keep this.
Keep it brief.
Keep it brief. Some of my favorites. So I remember Tiny Toon Adventures.
Yes, that was another one.
They had some really cool ones. They always had... One of the cool things about McDonald's toys was they always did, like, vehicles and stuff. And I remember the little, like... What's his name, dude? What's the dude who had the umbrella on his head? He had, like, a little, like, unicycle thing that was really cool. And he had, like, a bunch of little dudes in, like, the wheel. Those were cool. I remember... I think it was the 50th anniversary of Disney, or the 75th anniversary.
50th.
And they had those clamshells that looked like the VHS tapes, and like you would get a figure that you could then attach to like everything else and make this giant train. And I remember people obsessed over that one. And so it was like every VHS release of like every Disney movie up to date. So like people obsessed over that.
You know what? It was very brief, and I don't know if McDonald's did it or some other fast food joint did it. But when it was popular, and it was popular for a good, I would say 6 months, Pogs.
McDonald's, I believe, did that.
They did Pogs.
And I actually remember...
Because it was sweeping the nation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was like a virus. Like everyone had Pogs in their house.
Yeah, I remember actually like McDonald's did a couple of different like Pog things. I think they even did like a Power Ranger thing with that too. I remember seeing a commercial on it like recently.
Yeah, everyone got in on the Pogs.
Mm-hmm. Everybody got in on the Pogs. Batman Returns was one of my favorites. Mm-hmm. I've still got those toys around somewhere. I think they did Space Jam. I thought those were kind of cool.
Yeah, they did Space Jam.
Let me think. I think for a certain point, Disney was not doing... I think with Lion King, they went to Burger King, and then because of that, like, McDonald's was like, oh, no, we're getting the mouse, so, like, everything moving forward. So I think that's why with, like, Pocahontas, that's why you started getting, like, all these, like, Disney tie-ins with like, Happy Meals.
All the colors of the wind.
Yeah. So I think it started with Pocahontas in, like, 95. But, my three... I got the joke. I got the joke. It did not go over my head.
Yeah.
My top three favorites, though.
Okay.
Number 3. The Power Rangers movie. Now, it's not my number 1, and here's why. Because I think everybody always likes to think, oh, man, you would go in and you'd get, like a little Power Ranger figure and, like, the Falcon Zord or, like, the ape. And I'm like, no. That wasn't it. That was an additional purchase. It was kind of like how they had like those. You remember how they had the VHS tapes for a while? You could buy like Wayne's World or like the Coneheads or stuff for like $2 a movie. It was kind of like that where you had to buy those separately. You had to buy like they had 6 Rangers and like their Zords. They had like for the Happy Meal toy, they had like random little bullshit like the communicator, or they had like this weird thing that you blew into that didn't have any kind of equivalent to the movie. So that toy line was kind of but because of the facsimile, I was like, I still really liked that tie-in and whatnot.
Sure.
Do you remember there was a McDonald's tie-in? It was Simpsons watch.
I remember that.
Yeah, and if you pressed it, it said, "Are we there yet?" No.
Yeah.
Are we there yet? No.
I remember the dumbest, probably the dumbest ones. The dumbest thing I remember getting from a McDonald's was it was a tie-in with Tarzan, and they had these straws. And, like, every time that you sipped, like, there was a sensor on the straw. You had, like Tarzan's head, and it would, like, howl every time you sipped. Or he'd do, like, oh. And I'm like, who the fuck wants that? That's so stupid. I didn't know who
Children. Children, because if they like the sound, it's just repetitive. You know, they would do that.
You were a kid once, too.
That is true. We like loud sounds and bright, flashy colors.
Loud noises!
Number 2 for me has got to be Sonic the Hedgehog 3. That was a cool toy tie-in. I really loved the, like, Sonic, you know, he had, like, they had, I think, there was a Sonic toy, there was a Knuckles toy, there was a Robotnik toy, and the Tails toy, which was basically, like, kind of like, you would press a thing and, like, he would spin up in the air.
Spin off, yeah.
I thought that was really fucking cool. Mm-hmm. And, like, I loved, like, the... And I failed to mention, too, like, when you would go in, like, how they had, like, the inserts on, like, the trays and whatnot. And, like, I just remember really loving how that one looked, too. And, like, the bags, too. I always loved how, like, the boxes and the bags looked when, like, this is the toy this month. Like, and Sonic had, like, probably one of the coolest boxes, I thought, for the Happy Meal, you know. And that was just a really cool line, and I remember really loving the commercials. But my number 1 has got to be Super Mario Bros. 3. Best Happy Meal toys of all time. You got Luigi on the cloud. You got the, what is it? The Koopa Paratroopa. You got the Goomba that, like, flipped or whatever. And then you had the Mario on
Oh,
spring.
yeah, I remember. This was the tie-in for the NES release.
Yeah, the Super Mario Bros. 3.
Yeah.
And the box was awesome because it literally just looked like the game.
Because that game was huge because everyone was like, we need a legit Mario game after Doki Doki Panic.
Yeah. So, which is funny because that what was it? When did that game come out? Like 1990? I think it came out.
No, that would have been
In the States, anyways. It came out in like 1990.
No, 1990 would have been Super Mario World.
No, that was 1991.
Yeah, it was, I think 92 or 93. 93. I think it's 93.
No.
Super Mario 3.
He's thinking about Super Mario World. I'm talking about Super Mario 3.
3?
Super Mario 3, I want to say, was like
90s.
80. No, 88.
No, maybe it was 89, 90, I think, because like the Super Nintendo came out in 1991. And here's the thing, Super Mario Bros. 3. Go watch what is it? The Gaming Historian. He does a whole thing on this, but that game came out in Japan, like I believe a full like year and a half to 2 years before it came out in the States.
Yeah.
So you had people like literally renting out the Japanese version of that with like the Famicom.
Okay. So it came out in Japan in 88, North America in 1990.
Boom.
And in Europe in 91.
One of my favorite games of all time.
Yeah.
Pointed to the poster. Yeah, so that game was out for like 2 years, and then, go figure. Still, probably my favorite McDonald's. Like, when I think McDonald's Happy Meal toys, that's the one I think of.
Mm-hmm.
I think of Mario 3. But, moving on from there, obviously there were a lot of, like, Happy Meal toys that were, like, tied in. But then, you had to have something for the adults, too, and obviously, sometimes, not always, but sometimes, you would have Happy Meal toys that would tie in with whatever big summer blockbuster McDonald's was promoting that summer. So, with that in mind, what are some of your favorite, like, summer tie-ins and, like, things that they offered? I'll give you some examples. They did... Nice. What are some of your favorite movie tie-ins, and also what are some of your favorite products that were offered? I'll give you some examples. I remember when the Flintstones came out, they had the glasses that you could buy there. McDonald's was famous for offering, like, hey, pay like $1.99 and you can take home a glass today and like collect all 4. Like they did that for adults all the time. What are some of your favorite like movie tie-ins and also things that you could buy as an additional price back in the day?
Indiana Jones. You could buy the VHSs.
Oh, really? Was it wait? Was it like Adventures of the Young Indiana Jones, or was it like
No, it was
movies?
straight up the movies.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
The Phantom Menace tie-in stuff.
Yep.
You get the cup. You had the cup for free, but the lid with the plastic thing on it. I think.
Yeah.
That was Taco Bell.
That was Taco Bell.
That was Taco Bell.
Jesus. I don't even
No,
know.
you're right. Fuck, what was it?
Oh my god!
Did they do something for the? Did they do something?
Apparently, I didn't remember the food.
Guys, I know what my role is here on the show now. I am the fast food historian. I am the walking encyclopedia.
You're the fast food toy historian for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, I remember Indiana Jones. I remember The Lost World.
Yeah. I remember
who did the Lord of the Rings. Who did the Lord of the
That
Rings
was Burger
glasses?
King.
That was Burger King. Okay.
That was Burger King.
Those glasses were.
You still have some of those. I had Gandalf, but it looks like you had a couple more. I don't know what happened to mine, but God, I want to get those again because those were so fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the coolest glasses.
Has a red light or lights up.
Yeah. The VHS release tie-in with McDonald's, by the way, that's how I got my copy of Wayne's World back in the day.
Oh, you know those fancy glasses I have with the little snow trees on them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Roy Rogers.
Nice.
I like those are so nice. Where'd you get Roy Rogers?
Mm-hmm. What else? See, that's the thing. The movie tie-ins, I specifically because what I care. I mean, it was this like the '90s, so I was a kid, so I was more paying attention to the fucking toys.
Sure.
But yeah, I remember Lost World. I remember Indiana Jones. I assume that would have been Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Probably.
Because that was the last... Yeah, that was the...
Junior!
Junior.
Anytime the... I mean, it's not necessarily a movie tie-in, but anytime the fucking Monopoly game was running.
Oh,
Monopoly.
Shit, yeah, Monopoly.
Fucking...
Love the Monopoly game.
I wasted so much fucking money.
But hey, how many times did you get a free fry?
Oh, every time. Every time I won something.
You win, free fry.
I win a free fry. Oh, sweet. And then I turn around and I was like,
Yeah.
Like, I get a free medium fry, and then I get another 2 coupons, and I, like, pull them. I'm like, oh, a free 4-piece nugget. Hooray.
I forgot to mention in the toys, by the way, but I also remember when they actually had VR Troopers, too, I think. I don't know if they did Big Bad Beetleborgs, but I say this as Colin makes my VR Trooper plushie from the 90s jerk off on Sean. What a visual.
He was assaulting me with it earlier.
I know. I was having him like hump his hand because it was over there.
Sorry. Trying to see if this flap lip.
We're mature.
Yeah.
When we start talking about toys, we gotta play with something.
Yeah, right. So I'm sorry. You were starting to say.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. So I remember I've actually got some of them in a box here to go into the cabinet. Probably my favorite movie tie-in has got to be Batman Forever.
Yeah.
I bought the fuck. I don't know where my 2 face glass went, but I have the Batman one. I have the Robin. I also have the Riddler.
Riddler, yeah.
I don't remember if they actually did Batman Forever Happy Meal toys. Did they? I can't remember. I could have sworn they did, but maybe they didn't.
I fucking remember the ad campaign for that.
Yeah.
Because they used that clip from the movie ad nauseum. It was all just like...
Would you like me to take a sandwich for you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
I'll get drive-through.
He just pulls...
Batman's coming to McDonald's.
Yeah, you just see the Batmobile pull into the fucking drive-through, and you're just like, okay.
I mean, it's no worse than the first movie where they did those Diet Coke. Diet Coke! Thank you.
I like the Indiana Jones tie-in for Diet Pepsi.
Yeah.
For Last Crusade.
I don't see.
He chose wisely.
Oh my god.
Yeah. We're talking nostalgia critic at this point. Yeah. I think. Let's see. There were some other movie tie-ins, but I think Batman Forever. Honestly, it doesn't get any better than that for me because that was the first time I was like, ooh, cool. And then of course there was also the Flintstones. I didn't really like that movie, but the glasses were fucking cool. I remember having the one that kind of looked like the horn, and then it was tied on with a tooth, like a saber tooth or something.
Yeah.
I thought those looked really cool. They were just styled really awesome, even though they were made of glass. You could go to McDonald's any given month and get different really cool stuff if you wanted to pay extra for it.
Am I wrong? And am I just misremembering something? It's just the Mandela effect. But didn't they do every time the Olympics came around? They did some.
No, they did. Especially with 92, and I remember specifically Atlanta 1996.
Because I was living in Atlanta in 96. So I was I went to Centennial Park, Olympic Park. I went to a lot of the fucking events.
Did you see what's her name do the flip on her broken ankle?
I did not see Carrie Strug. I did see Ray Charles play live there though.
Oh, right on. America.
Yeah.
America.
I mean, he did Georgia on My Mind, but
okay. Fine.
I mean, no, he did that one.
Georgia.
Well, he did.
Sweet Georgia.
Yeah.
Anyways, sorry.
But oh god, I'm trying to remember any of those Olympic campaigns because
I know that they used to have
they did them.
Well, that was weird because I know that they used to have the Olympic logo on their cups, especially during the summer. Mm-hmm. But whatever, because
McDonald's
also
was the official restaurant of the Olympics.
I remember watching NBC any given day and their logo. I always thought that their logo was the peacock and the Olympic rings because it was it was the peacock logo and then the Olympic rings underneath that.
Yep.
Didn't matter if you were watching Friends or Seinfeld or SNL, it was just always there. And I was like, when it went away, I was like, well, what happened?
What happened?
So anyway, McDonald's. There's a lot of nostalgia there.
Well, tons of nostalgia.
So much nostalgia.
And honestly, I know why they don't do that kind of stuff anymore, but I kind of miss it. I kind of miss hey, come to McDonald's and celebrate. Can you imagine if McDonald's during the Marvel movies, at their peak, if they tied in with Age of Ultron, or they tied in with Infinity War or like Captain America, like imagine that, but like the way they used to do it in the 90s.
Yeah.
It was definitely a missed
toys
opportunity.
are actually cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you know what toy they have at McDonald's right now?
What's that?
The Masked Singer.
Oh, for God's sake! What happened to this country?
Oh, what the fuck happened to this
The
world?
Masked Singer for real?
Yeah.
Swear to God.
I will say this, and then I'll get to the next subject, or we can even start to wrap it up. But the last time I bought a Happy Meal toy was actually recently because of the Super Mario Brothers movie.
Yeah.
Because I saw like I literally walked into a McDonald's one day. I had no idea that they were even doing that because it was like 2 months before the movie even came out.
Right.
And I was just trying to get some breakfast, but then I saw, hey, they have Mario toys, and I was like, and I immediately went back to like that kid who got the Super Mario Bros. 3 toys and went, I'll take 3, please, and like literally put them in my bag. I got Mario, Luigi, and the little star dude who wants to die.
Yeah.
Prison is really sad. Spoilers for the movie, by the way. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
But,
not really, but.
Hey, girl.
All right, so I think we've covered movie times, we've covered toys. What else we got?
So I think, let's see. At this point, okay. What do you remember about the McDonaldland characters? And also, like, did you ever go to the play place growing up? Obviously, Sean, I think you did. Did you ever, like, enjoy going to the play place? And, like, when you were living, like, where you lived, did you have, like, the big one? Did you have the outdoor one? Did you have the smaller one? Like, what did you have?
The good thing about us traveling, every time we went to McDonald's, we always went to, like, one with a massive play place. Like, this thing was a gymnasium. Like, it was huge. And, like, we would get lost in, like, the tunnels there, and I always, like anytime I went down the slide, static electricity, like, I had a fro after.
Made you look like young Einstein.
Son of a bitch!
Yeah.
Made you look like I said, like young Einstein or something.
Yeah. Yeah, so, like, I remember that. I remember the little shoe cubby, where you can put your shoe, you remember your shoes? And the individual, well, it wasn't for like just one. It wasn't with a pair of shoes. It was for one shoe. You put one shoe here and one shoe here.
One shoe there, one shoe.
Yeah,
One
the
shoe,
shoe cubby.
there.
So I do remember play places. I don't ever remember like being like enthused about going into one, because realistically, it's like play with a bunch of kids I don't know. I mean, like playing with kids I do know.
Well, you know how I used to beat that was there was so right out the gate where I lived in Fitzsimmons, they didn't have a play place there. But if you go maybe a couple miles towards Denver, my mom and my Aunt Nancy would always take me and my cousins Stacy and Cynthia to the one that had the giant play place, and it was like you said, like the big one where you got lost in the tunnel. Though I think I had a very similar one, if not the exact same one.
Yeah.
And it kind of rivaled Chuck E. Cheese, honestly. Like, just how big
it was better than Chuck E. Cheese.
It was better than Chuck E. Cheese? Okay.
It was better than Chuck E. Cheese. Chuck E. Cheese was basically a casino for kids.
Sure. Okay, fine. I will say this. I always thought it was better than Chuck E. Cheese. It wasn't quite Discovery Zone, though.
Discovery Zone was the shit.
Oh, man. We got to talk about that on some show sometime. I want to do Chuck E. Cheese versus Discovery Zone, but like probably not on here, but anyways. Another nostalgia.
I really don't want to eat any
Chuck E. Cheese
Chuck
pizza.
E. Cheese pizza.
You don't want to go Pasquale's and get you some pizza?
Pasquale's,
Pasquale's, that's what it was.
Pasquale's, yeah, but like...
Yeah.
Or Siguna Forno's, yes.
Yes.
I mean, we should do a pizza episode.
Oh, absolutely. We need to do a pizza episode.
Pizza episode.
Oh, trust me,
Yeah.
we're gonna do a pizza episode.
But
Don't you fret, my
You want to save that for 20?
my alabaster turtle dove. Don't fret. We will do a pizza episode.
totally. Now, going back, I believe it was you who mentioned you didn't like going to the play place because you didn't want to play with people that you didn't know. The way that, like, I never had that problem because I was always going with, like, my cousins. So I was always playing, like, I was always hanging out with my cousins. So, like, there was always, like, sure, there were always, like, snot-nosed brats that, like, I didn't know. But I also had, you know, my family. So it was like, okay, cool. Like, I didn't feel quite so bad just going.
I didn't really care like if anyone else
Yeah.
was there. I'm gonna do my thing.
I never felt like I was being thrown to the wolves or anything.
But yeah, but I always went with Ian, and Ian would just go in the opposite direction of where I was going. So I'd be by myself. So I'm like, whoa. Anyway, what was the other question? It was places and
play
what?
place, and then also, what do you remember of like the McDonald Land characters? So we're talking Ronald McDonald, Birdie, Grimace, the Hamburglar, Mayor McCheese, all that stuff.
I always thought I could be the Hamburglar's henchman in crime. I mean, is one of his henchmen.
Robble.
And get free hamburgers all the time.
I like the Grimace.
Yeah,
He's misunderstood.
He's my favorite because I as I gotten older,
I always identified with him.
Yeah, as I got older,
I too always wanted to be a purple blood plug.
Someone mentioned this and I thought it was hilarious. Is Grimace is actually Gorbachev's birthmark gaining sentience. Somebody said that, and I always latched onto that. I was like, oh, I want it to be true. Oh, let it be true.
That's hilarious.
It's so good.
Mr. Gorbachev, take down that place.
Robble.
Robble. That's something that Reagan would have said. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this place. Robble.
Well, Mommy. No, I don't want to steal the cheeseburgers anymore.
Mommy, I want my warm apple slices.
Mommy, why don't they fry the apple pies anymore?
Reagan smash.
I remember, so something weird about the McDonald Land characters. So back in the 70s, and I'm going to reference, I think it was like Yesterworld, or there was another video I really liked during the pandemic. They talked about like the history of the McDonald Land characters, and they got sued, like they got their pants sued off in like the 70s when they were filming all these commercials, because back in the day, like the Fry Guys and like the different characters that they had, like there was like a pirate character, I forget what his name was, but like Mayor McCheese and all these other characters, they got sued by Sid and Marty Krofft because it looked just like their show.
H&R Puffin stuff?
H&R Puffin stuff, yeah. So they had to retool a lot of stuff. So by the time that like it got to the point where I had eyes on the product, it was completely different. The Hamburglar didn't look like,
He still looked relatively the same.
He was super. He got really cute.
He looks like Zorro with stripes.
But like back in the day, he was like freaky looking. Like he looked like he belonged. He looked like he was wanted by the police.
He looked like he stole more than hamburgers.
He looked like he diddled hamburgers.
Oh boy!
It was like, oh god, he's the ham diddler.
Special sauce indeed.
He's got beef.
Like I can even pull up a photo real fast of just like, oh god, and I'll try and link this on the show.
Yeah, the Hamburglar, I never really understood.
Wasn't there like a female Fry Guy too?
I think so.
Because everybody was always like, "Oh, Birdie, the first female McDonald's character." I'm like, no, there was a female Fry Guy, wasn't there? Before Birdie?
I think so.
I distinctly remember that. Again, maybe it's Mandela effect. I don't know. I just
like Grimace and the Hamburglar are the only ones I know about besides the big boss himself.
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I did not want this guy anywhere near my hamburger.
Holy fuck!
Like
yeah,
that was
Stop! He's already dead.
Now we got.
Yeah, that's the one I remember.
That's the version on the left I remember. But then later on, I remember they did this thing where it completely failed and they swept it under the rug, but they made the Hamburglar sexy. It was like a live action dude who wore a mask and like red gloves. He was like, shh, don't tell anyone. It looked like he was like joining Carmen Sandiego on a crime to steal all the burgers of the world or some shit.
I love how the one in the 90s, the one we grew up with, was like a sort of combination between, like, what was it, the Cookie Crisp Burglar and...
I miss him.
What was the other one? Who was the villain from Care Bears?
Which one?
The redheaded kid.
Fuck, are you talking about the movie or the show or
the movie?
I Okay, I don't know what his name is, but
You know who I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking
it's
about.
It's like, it's like a merge between him and the Cookie Crisp band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Either way, like, Hamburglar was always a weird character.
Yeah.
And I think, actually, what was it, Birdie, if I remember correctly, Birdie was introduced in, like, the 80s when they started doing breakfast, because she was the early bird.
Yeah.
And, like, the early bird gets the breakfast. So,
Yeah.
like, that was kind of cool. But the reason I even bring this up is because we did all these tie-ins. I distinctly remember, I don't know if you remember this, in the 80s they had a VHS tape, and it was like an animated like adventure, and it involved all of them. But then later on in the 90s, they had Klasky Supo, the guy who did the Rugrats.
Yeah.
They animated a bunch of like I think it was like 5 that they animated, and only 4 were released.
McShorts.
And it was these videotapes that you could buy, and man, those were like the ugliest fucking versions of those characters. Like, Ronald McDonald looked like he had just been like sandblasted with cocaine to his face.
I remember that.
Remember
his hair was even like on end, but like kind of furled. Like it was.
I would have loved to have seen that, because honestly, the 90s commercials with Ronald McDonald, like not even like his counterparts, it was always just Ronald McDonald out in the wild talking to like rando kids. And I'm just like, this is...
Hi, I'm Chris Hansen.
I'm like, this is...
Looking back on it, you're like...
Looking back on it, I was like, this is fucking...
Creepy?
This is, what do you... Yeah.
Yeah, this shit.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
It's like someone was like, hey, let's take an episode of the Wild Thornberrys and dress them all up in McDonald's cosplay.
Oh my god, it's exactly that. It's like the Wild Thornberrys art style, but like...
Yeah.
I don't know, like...
That was a weird one.
Yeah. And then like the first one, I just remember... You could have literally called that first one, because like they get stuck in this mansion. They could have literally called it Boo Haunted House. Like,
let's talk about the clown. Opinions on the clown.
The fucking clown.
That clown, to this day, still scares the shit out of me.
Oh, really? Okay, I can see it.
Now earlier, the Wilford Blimey, but the guy who used to be on
Diabetes.
He used to be on Good Morning America for a while.
Willard Scott.
Willard Scott. Willard Scott was he was the first one.
Was he really?
Yeah. And he was the guy that had
in the 60s and 70s.
He had the little like solo cup on his like the little water cup that you know, whatever. He had that on his nose, and like he had like a box around his like waist or whatever, and like he would like press a button and it's like, I'm making McDonald's hamburgers. Like, and you know, it was just weird.
I always remember those. I always remember those commercials, like in the 90s, where he's just, like, Ronald McDonald's is out in the world, fucking just walking up to that random kid and just being like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And the kid's like, "Oh, I'm making a snowman."
Yeah.
Or I was like, I'm running away from home. It's like, well, you got so much good shit here, you know. Like who's gonna help make the birdhouse? Who's gonna do this? It's like,
who's gonna put the star on the top of the tree?
How do you know what this kid is like? How do you know what this whole family does?
Because he sees you when you're sleeping.
He knows when you're awake.
Ronald McDonald
is MK Ultra.
Oh my
Jesus
God.
Christ, man. That got dark. And I was about to suggest those commercials, like, you should use the score from It and, like, just rescore them. Like, just keep the dialogue the same way, but, like, just
because he works with the CIA.
Yeah.
He's a plant.
It's like literally watching like the Ted Bundy interviews, and you're like, oh, that's how Ronald McDonald could have been exactly that.
I'm uncomfortable.
just like watching like the videotape back, and Ronald McDonald is sitting there and he's wearing the orange, and like they're asking questions and there's an awkward silence, and he's like, "How else do you think I got the meat for our burgers?" And it's like, oh God, what the? Oh God!
Just to kind of bring your attention towards it, but I really think it's funny how you're like, we're not gonna go real long in this episode, and it's like 54 minutes.
Well, we had a lot to talk about.
I know.
Trust me,
I had a lot to talk about.
That first episode would have been 3 hours long had we kept all of this, and we would have gone into it.
So this is our McDonald's trilogy. I don't think that there will be like a Hobbit spinoff or anything like that.
Yeah, please no.
Unless we like start getting into like Burger King, but at the same time, I don't know.
We will eventually.
Sure, but I don't think like I don't know. Like
we'll pause. We'll pause it for a while, and then we'll do other crap, and then we'll come back to it.
If I can wrap up my thoughts on like this episode, I think that the one thing I want to say though, and this will tie into like how we're gonna do. Very funny.
Sorry, continue.
You're a jerk off.
Yeah.
I think if and when we do other like fast food restaurants,
Yep.
and we talk about things like that, then we're not going to be able to talk about like Burger King or Hardee's or like Wendy's with the same kind of like
Nope.
memory or nostalgia because
We
McDonald's was so like it was just so. I hesitate to say the word pervasive, but it was just one of those things that was always around.
It was so tied to our cultural growth as youths.
And it's kind of weird that like that's not a thing anymore. Like,
not as much, yes.
Not as much because I think like that and like Nintendo and like Saturday morning cartoons. I think that that's a big thing that tied into it too. Is like we're the generation that grew up with like Saturday morning cartoons. We're like one of the last generations to have Saturday morning. cartoons.
Now the kids will be when they get older, they'll be nostalgic for like
Netflix.
Just YouTubers.
Jesus,
like you remember Ryan's Toys? That shit.
Do you remember Markiplier?
Remember PewDiePie?
I think that's a big thing that ties into it.
Do you
was
remember
like
Jake Paul before he became a boxer?
You remember Mr. Beast?
Remember Mr. Beast Burger? I do. I think part of it too was that because we were so tied to the TV and we were watching like cartoons on Saturday, we were doing like, we were eating like sugar cereal, playing Nintendo, and like watching those commercials. Those commercials were on all the time.
Yeah.
So it just kind of became background noise, and like maybe it might have been like subliminal, but like it was just always kind of there, and that thought was always kind of there. Like, oh shit, like what's going on? Like, oh cool, they've got a toy that I want at McDonald's, and like that's not a thing anymore. So
nah.
I kind of miss those days. I also am kind of happy that maybe it's not as pervasive anymore because my waistline certainly thanks me for that. But I miss it. I really miss those days. I don't know about y'all, but
yeah.
Well, until next time, remember, don't stop eating when you're full. Stop eating when you hate yourself.
Two Fat Guys Eat is a Castwave Studios production. For other shows and more, please visit castwavestudios.com.